but as we awaken, I think we're going to solve all these problems because we're all going to be coming from this one loving conscious energy space, and we're not going to see each other as separate.
But do you think there was a time on this planet, maybe we had this discussion before, where it was a paradise, where people did realize that we're all from the same stuff, but something happened to block us off from that? And that goes back to what Kenny was saying. Sometimes that teacher can guide you to understand that there's more to this world than we realize.
Well, apparently that happens when there's a teaching Buddha. When the last one was Gautama and the next one is going to be Maitreya. That's when there's a lot more light and peace. And what I heard it said was that the only disease, if you can call it a disease, that's prevalent on the planet when there's a Buddha, a teaching Buddha living and teaching, is overeating. That's it. So it's a time of great light and prosperity and peace on the planet. And I heard apparently the next Buddha is not for another 80,000 years or something.
How could anybody know that, Faith?
Yeah, I know, but it was prophesied in the Dhammapada. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Dhammapada, teaching of Buddha, teachings of Buddha.
Maybe you're the next Buddha.
I could be. I said that years ago, and my friend, who was a very,
There you go. So much for the 80,000 years.
looked at me like I was from outer space.
I don't think it's gonna be for like
Hmm.
I think it probably will take another few thousand years because people are just they're so asleep. So I think like they're not conscious. So I think it will take several thousand years. Yeah, probably, maybe.
Yeah, we don't really know any of this is real. Like we only know by discovering truth in ourselves, right?
Exactly.
Our own
Exactly.
experience. And we can read stuff and hear about stuff, but I don't know. I don't believe anything anymore that comes from outside. Like, yeah, okay, I'll listen to it, but I won't believe it just because it's coming from a certain person or source, or just because somebody says so. Even if it's coming from a book that was supposedly words that were spoken by Buddha, like I don't know, I wasn't there. Did he say that, or did that really
Yeah.
happen? I don't remember being there. So I might have been there at the time, but I don't recall right now. So, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, just like I think a lot of the like what Jesus said. Because a lot of people, well, that's what Jesus said. Like, okay, that's awesome. But we don't know like for sure. We are not 100% certain, you know, that Jesus said every time to turn the other cheek, We're not certain of that.
Right,
You-
because those texts were written by men, don't forget, right? So,
Exactly.
yeah.
And they were written by people who have ulterior motives. So
Yeah, right. I was
yeah.
thinking that. Yeah.
I'm not saying that I don't believe like
Okay.
yeah, like I'm not
Oh,
I'm not saying that I don't believe in Jesus because I do. I firmly do. But what I'm trying to say is that, some people will say, "Oh, well, that's what he said," like yeah. Okay, well, but he also went into a temple and overturned tables. So obviously he would, like he was
No
he
contradiction.
was trying to help. Yeah, he was trying to help humanity, and helping humanity involves, some force sometimes. I'm sure he knew that.
the Jesus people who scream what you should do and what Jesus said are trusting and relying on what they were told, which is you're a piece of shit. You don't know anything. Just listen to us, and we'll tell you what's right and what's wrong and what you should be doing. That's the
Exactly.
message we all got when we were kids, and
Yeah.
so they're not in touch with the truth that's arising within them in that way because they don't trust it. You have to trust your own intuition at some point.
Yeah.
That's the only message we have. You meet a teacher, you don't even know if it's a teacher or not, unless there's a resonance inside you that says this is a teacher, or whatever it says. Our feelings on the inside are what matter the most, because that's all we have in evaluating anything. And how you feel when you're around someone in particular, that's the feelings are coming up within you in that moment. They're not coming from anywhere else. So that's what we feel, and that's what we have to understand, and that's what we have to trust, or we're going to be lost in what everybody else says to do and not know what's real and what isn't.
But that is the issue today, right? Because a lot of people are influenced by things outside of them. I'm not just talking about teachers. I'm talking about the media. I'm talking about the newspapers. I'm talking about radio and music. We can all have fun and great feelings from them, but we may not know at the conscious level the manipulation behind that information that's coming into us. Anyway,
Well,
it's just
the more in touch we are with truth inside, the easier it is to see that. I mean, I'm pretty good at catching stuff like that. And it is true. I mean, you hear something that looks like news, and is it or isn't it? And I mean, I don't get too involved with the stuff that I can't tell the difference. And you can't trust any particular source, because they're all kind of trying to make money and all the rest of that stuff. But there's a resonance that happens when you hear truth inside you, and that's the direction that I like to head in. That seems to be the best direction to go in.
okay. Kenny, any comments?
I used to be a con man. I would create stories that would con people into giving me money and getting nothing in return. And I preyed on people who relied on their inner feelings.
Yes, but a lot of people can be fooled easily because they're not relying on their inner feelings. So you can be successful being a con man, like Trump and all the rest of those clowns, and the people that are following them because they were taught to follow somebody rather than go inside. Now you changed. You're not the con man anymore, I don't think. So you changed. Why? Because something happened inside you that said, hey, this is the wrong direction to head in, and you trusted that feeling, and you were right.
But these people, we'll go back to the Trump thing.
Don't go
There
to
must
Trump.
have been something that he was saying that resonated with them. They said, that feels right to me.
Absolutely.
That is right. Just
Right.
like the Biden people, or the Obama people and all this. Well, this feels right to me.
Yep.
But our feelings can be manipulated. If we have talking heads saying, oh, he's the best president, he's going to make changes, blah, 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 right? And people go, yes, like I've seen this since Brent, I can remember when I was probably 9 or 10, okay? And my dad would be watching the evening news and all this, and I'd hear this, people say, this is the best president, things are really going to improve, blah, 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 right? Okay. And then I hear the news that, yeah, this with the prime minister of Canada, right? Yeah, things will really improve and all this. And as time went on, I go, how come they keep saying that and nothing is improving?
Absolutely.
Like, I don't, and I go
Absolutely.
like,
Yeah.
and
It'll work for us.
sometimes do people have to fall for this over and over and over again?
They are
People
not-
have short memories.
Yeah,
That's
they're
right.
not the ones that are in control.
I
Prime ministers.
also want to say, okay, so somebody just said about getting information, and a lot of them are in it for money and stuff like that. Well, not all. There are people out there who are really investigative, and they really put a lot of effort and work into the information that they provide, and they don't get anything. They're not millionaires, or not, they're not working for these big networks or anything. They are people who are just wanting to help humanity, and they want to investigate and find out what is true, and they're not doing it for money.
Glenn
they're
Greenwald.
not.
Glenn Greenwald is one of those guys that does that. Yep. See, the thing is about the resonator. See, we have all got these resonators inside of us, and they resonate at different frequencies and different levels. There are people that will resonate with Donald Trump. There are people that will be disgusted with him. Okay, so the resonator, unfortunately, has to be it has to be calibrated properly. And when we're kids, that's when our resonators get calibrated. And so we're walking around, and if we have a propensity to be racist, let's say, then somebody like Donald Trump comes along, and he's our man, because he is a racist. You can smell it and you can feel it in him. So that kind of person will resonate with Donald Trump. I'm not going to resonate with him. I'm going to resonate with something differently. So the resonator has to be calibrated properly, and if it's not calibrated properly, then this is what you get. The only way to calibrate a resonator is for you to take a look at it deeply inside and figure out what feels right about the truth. And I was a Republican for a long, long time because I couldn't see past that. Then I had certain experiences, and now I can see past that. So all these people are going to stay with where they are because of their resonators, unless something else comes along that alerts them that there may be something wrong with that. And some people are going to be racist the rest of their lives, and some people are going to be able to change. But that doesn't stop the idea that you've got to go inside and find that source of truth within yourself, because we really don't have anything else. Because if your resonator is messed up and you're following somebody else, the only way out of that for you is to find something else that manifests inside yourself that is better than that. And that may be a relationship, a loving relationship, where you realize, gee whiz, what difference does it make what color someone's skin really is anyway? Maybe you'll realize that. And then from that point on, you won't be resonating with that kind of a person. But what this is, inside is all we have, really.
Okay, can I just mention something though? So you're in Berkeley, right? I've been to Berkeley, I guess 2017 I was there. Okay. All right.
I was there 2017.
Okay. All right. So are there Chinese people there?
I see them rarely. But the whole Bay Area is full of Orientals and Chinese people, and the whole Bay Area. So yeah,
East
there
Indian, right? African Americans.
There's lots of non-white people in the San Francisco Bay Area. Yes.
Okay. So when we say that, when we say non-white, when we say Chinese, when we say East Indian and all that, we are talking about race.
Yes, but not
the
necessarily
globalists, the people that run the banks and run a lot of things are the biggest racists on the planet. But they don't want us to discuss race, so they disguise it. They call it visible minorities, or they find other terms, multiculturalism, all this sort of stuff. I'm just putting this out there, Brent, because there is a big agenda out there, right?
I agree.
To have us fight
I agree
over all these things, and then we can't even use the 4-letter word race when they know that race exists.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm
They're
just
not
gonna say
visible minorities at all, actually.
They're not visible. No, but that's
No.
They're the
terminology.
majority.
they're the
Yeah,
majority.
Yeah.
Um,
Way by far.
And
I'm-
like I'm from Hamilton, right? I have a lot of friends from the Caribbean community, right? One of them, Gail is like a sister to me. I've known her for 35 years. When I went to Grenada with her on a holiday, because she's from Grenada, we went, through this area where there are nice little houses on the hill. And she said, there are people of your color there, right? I had never thought of myself as a color before until I went, right? And it startled me. It just totally startled.
Well,
Gee, I'm a color, right? Okay. But other groups can be aware of that. But if a white male or a white female points out anything,
yeah.
it is an issue, Brent. What I'm saying is that there's a big agenda out there, big manipulators out there that know that race creates culture. Culture is not a social construct. It creates culture. That's why when you go to China, you see different architecture, you experience different food, different
it's just-
dance, different music. You know,
Mhm.
when you go to Scotland, you know, you see different architecture. You know what I mean? If you go to Europe, you see different architecture, different
is-
things, right? You know, and so what these globalists have done is made it impossible for people to talk about race. And yet they're talking about race. That's what they're doing. They just can't say the four-letter word. Right?
Well,
And they want to abolish all the culture. They want to
Yeah,
abolish all
yeah.
the
actually,
So what I'm saying, because Brent, you and I have talked about this before. I had family and friends on the Trump side and family and friends on the anti-Trump side and all this. And it was interesting. And maybe I should share this with Faith and Kenny and Kelly. I felt as if they were talking about two different people. It was really strange. It's as if they had put that figure in one room with CNN cameras and he talked right here, and it went another room with Fox News reporters and cameras, right? And they talked it, right? It was like, it was so different. I was shocked at how different it was.
Yeah.
What did I do? I sat on the fence because I knew it was a big manipulation.
Yeah.
And some of the most
big time.
most kind, generous, wonderful people would get
Mhm.
onto Facebook and get vicious. I'm going like, what has happened to people? What has happened to people? And that's
think-
what these manipulators want. They
Yeah.
don't want us to know
Definitely.
that they're pulling the strings behind the scenes while we fight back and forth all the time.
Yeah.
Same program over and over again. It's happening today with the Ukraine and Russia. I have people in
God,
my
yeah.
neighborhood with Ukraine flags all over the place. Then I have, you know, friends saying, no, Putin's a good guy, blah, blah, blah. Like, I go like, how many freaking times? Like, really, I go like, beam me up, Scotty. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
No intelligent life down here, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just want to say something about, can I say something
Okay,
about
Faith.
people that have, you know, people, when they get an idea about some leader, it gives them hope, right? Somebody they can look outside
Opium.
as their savior and, oh, this guy, but they got a big veil over their eyes. They can't see that, well, maybe they don't show this very much, but I discovered that Trump was actually had investments in different pharmaceutical companies. And then did you know that he used his presidency to profit from those, to make money? He was promoting them even in his conventions and in his press conferences, just kind of slipping it in there. Oh, buy stocks in this company and that company, and you know, I mean, so corrupt. Like, and you could see right through it. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, he's all
And-
for the big pharma, and so you know, I mean, people think that he is some kind of wonderful guy for the people. No, he isn't. Trump is for Trump. It's just like all the other politicians. They don't work for,
Yeah.
they work for themselves and for the global elite, not for the people. They are not the ones in control. They are being handled and told by how to act and what to say.
I think if you truly look back in history and not, you know, what we've been taught over and over and over again, had basically shoved down our throats. If you look back in history, you realize that God really did bless us with some amazing leaders and amazing people.
Yeah, I think
But
we have had great
because-
souls on this planet, and we still do. We
Yeah.
have great souls on this planet.
We're great souls.
We are. I
But-
agree.
I think
Yeah,
99%
but
of people are good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But because we trusted, a lot of people didn't develop discernment, and they listened to people who were, quote, the false prophets, end quote. We're in big trouble, big. So Faith, earlier you were saying about how you found that teacher annoying. Well, probably because you have discernment, and that's God's gift. It really is truly God's gift. Yeah. So take it and
Thank
yeah, be grateful that you have it, because a lot of people don't, and they get in with these teachers. They're false prophets. They really truly are. Not saying all, but a lot of them are.
Yeah.
Brent, any comments?
I would just like to say this is planet Earth today, and you to just take a look at it, and you can see how crazy it is.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
and so those of us that can see past this, you know, and feel a calling, uh, have whatever we have to contribute to the mix. And I have got what I've got, and whatever you find that is something that resonates with you as being true and real, and is something that can help out the situation on this planet is not only needed, but it's imperative, because
Yeah.
we're on our way to Big Brother, and I'm glad I'm
I
not my
agree.
age right now.
Uh,
I would not want to be 20
100%.
years old right now. I just would. So,
Yeah.
You know
so
what? And it's true. Like when I think of young people, I think of Shima and others, and I go, wow. And I think it is important to share what we know to help people, right? Yeah. Brent,
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Kenny, any comments?
I'm just wondering what it must have been like for the Plains Indians when these European invaders kept coming in. I wonder if they felt like we feel now.
not a lot of them made it through that, did they?
But okay, if we were to look at the history of the world, has that happened throughout the history of the world?
Yes, yes.
Right? All through the world
Definitely.
it's happened, right?
Right. That's
Not
right.
just with Europeans, but throughout the world.
And it's
That's
happening
nothing
in
new.
the
But
yeah,
for
it's happening
some
in the third world.
reason, we've convinced everyone that we have to give our tax dollars to help with something that happened hundreds of years ago, right?
Like what?
And another thing, when you research this, the tax dollars are not going down to the people, right? It's a
No.
manipulation. So it's going to the big shots at the top that drive up to the parliament buildings in stretch limousines. Why is that happening? Right. And then you have young people out there protesting and saying, oh, you know, we have to do more, we have to do more. And more money goes to this group at the top and less goes down to the people, right? I mean, yeah, we have to stop feeling guilty about something that we are often fed through newspapers, television, radio, all this propaganda, which is a psychological game, and really start digging for the truth.
Absolutely true.
You
Absolutely
know,
true.
and I can't tell you who he was, but someone told me this once. He said, when I came to Canada, my parents are from, I think he told me from Holland. Okay. And they came here, they worked at a residential school as teachers. And his mother and father. And he said, my dad often, you know, would have to go sometimes to the home of some of these students, right? And, you know, these children were in squalor. They were living, you know, their parents were drunk, this sort of stuff. And he said they were so happy to get into the school because the safest place to be was at school, not at home, right? And that's not that shouldn't be, oh, you know, poor Nathan. What it is someone is gaining by putting people in that situation, right? So if they show that on television, they show it here and all this, then they gain something on those types of stories, right? So that's all I'm saying. And you know, and even natives have said that, but they can't say it publicly. They can say it privately, but not publicly because of the ramifications if they share certain stories.
So why don't you stop feeling guilty about that, and why don't you figure out something to do about it if you care about it, and that's what your piece in the action. I mean, we can sit here and be angry and cry all day about how fucked up things are, but I mean, in the end, it's like, what are you going to do about it? And if nothing,
Yeah,
then
Brent,
you know.
I'm just giving an example because it's brought up. But you know, there are people out there, myself and others, we do do our share to wake people up to what's going on, because it is a big
Yeah.
manipulation that's been going on for a very, very, very long time.
I
Right?
agree. I agree. But I mean,
And,
what can we do about it? And
I think it's being aware. And you know what? I'm really glad we're having this discussion, because think of this, and Kenny and Brent in particular, where else could you have this discussion? By the way, this part won't be in the video online because
There
I'll
is.
be bumped off of YouTube.
You're going to censor it?
You'll be, oh yeah.
Thank
they'll
God.
be
why?
bumped
Why?
off.
Don't
They
put it
bump
on.
you off.
Don't censor. There's nothing you've said that's censorable here. It's all truth. What are you afraid of? Just put it on.
Because the
no,
minute
they
you
will.
put-
They'll totally censor it.
yeah.
They will.
Who
You
will
know what?
censor
You know
it?
what?
Well,
Who
she
will?
said the N word.
Brent.
Hello, she said the N word.
I didn't hear it. I didn't hear the N word.
I didn't
Did you say the N word?
Native.
That's not the N
Yeah.
word, dear. Native is not a bad
No.
word.
Yeah,
It's
you can say
NIGG.
It doesn't-
Oh, I
That's
thought
bad.
it was. Okay, I thought
No,
that
not
was
at all. Not at all.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, but it doesn't
No,
matter.
but I
They
probably
will
would be
censor
careful
it.
about the residential school, Brent, but I'll see. As I go through, I'll know what I can keep, what I can't.
Oh, so it's
They-
not
But that's where
politically
it's going.
incorrect to say that word?
And that's where it's going with YouTube, because a lot of people from 2017 onward have been bumped off of YouTube
Yeah.
because it's
Absolutely.
controlled by the manipulation.
Yes, but
People
it's
think
some of
that
it.
everything's like random. Nuh-uh.
But some
Everything's
of it
controlled
is
by them.
misinformation that needs to get bumped off when people are lying about certain things that are important. Like if somebody says, "Don't take don't take a vax for COVID because it's snake oil," or it's some bullshit like that, and that affects people that are stupid. And I would agree that misinformation should go. Some of it.
I think that's disinformation. I don't think there's snake venom in the water or in the.
I read an
Okay,
article
Brent,
today. I read
Brent.
an article today.
Brent.
Somebody said it was
Yeah, but Brent, do you believe in freedom of speech?
to a point.
Then that's not freedom of speech.
No.
Okay, well,
If it has to be that everybody has to think the same and be in that group, and if you don't think like that, then that's not freedom of speech.
you
That's called
can't yell.
communism.
You can't yell fire in a crowded theater for fun. That should be illegal, and you should go to jail if you do that because it can cause a riot. Are you telling me that that's okay to say?
Okay, and so if somebody is concerned about their health and they do not want to support a big pharmaceutical company, then they should have the choice not to have to support a big pharmaceutical company.
Then don't support it, but don't tell everybody else that it's going to kill you or some other made up bullshit. And there's so much bullshit out there
Oh, that's
about
not
this.
Okay,
no,
whoa,
Brent,
whoa,
Brent,
whoa.
sorry, that's
Wait,
not true,
wait.
Brent. I can tell
Wait.
you from personal experience,
Brent.
a lot of people have died from these.
Yes, they have, but people die from flu shots. We know that. But millions of people have taken
But they're
that
not,
drug
flu
and
shots
not
are
died.
not made mandatory as a means of, maintaining employment, except
Yeah.
in hospitals. And that should be illegal. It's an
Yeah.
absolute disgrace.
It's
Okay,
a
we
big-
can argue about the details,
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
I
but,
work
but
on the front line, so I know what's going on.
okay,
and
but
I
why
have
would a
to-
healthcare worker working in a hospital not want to get vaxxed?
A lot of healthcare workers didn't want
Because
to do
there's-
that
Why?
because they saw the impact, the effects of the vaccine on some of the patients. So-
Well, a few people are going to die from any kind of vaccine there is that happens all
No,
the
it's
time.
not just a few people. It's a lot of people.
You don't know how many.
Yeah,
And
You
I
it
don't
is.
know how
know-
It's
many.
online, Brent.
Oh, yeah, but who are you trusting with the numbers? You
government
say you
sites,
can't trust
on
these people.
government sites. They'll
Okay.
put it up there.
All right, fine, but that's not a reason not to vax people, because how many people would be dead from COVID if nobody got vaxxed?
How
Many,
can we
many
prove
more.
that COVID exists?
Yeah,
Are you
Anyway,
serious, Kelly?
yeah, but
Yeah.
Brent,
Seriously?
I'm
You don't think
devastated.
COVID exists?
Brent,
Of course not.
This is what I'm
It's a bullet.
talking about by misinformation, if that's true. If she really believes that, that's what misinformation can get you to do. Oh, it's a big bunch of bullshit. There is no COVID. It's just a way
Brent,
for pharmaceutical
can you
companies
please-
to make money. That is bullshit.
Can you please hear something for a minute?
Go ahead.
I know people that work in hospitals. I know people that work on the front lines. So I can tell you for a fact, there is no COVID, okay? It's a
Bullshit.
big, I know
Okay,
people that work in
thank-
hospitals. I know
Oh,
Okay,
inside.
well, there's
Brett,
thousands and
no.
thousands of people other than that that would disagree with you. And
Not
if you
true.
believe that, Faith,
They
you're
have not
believing
proven,
bullshit.
they have not proven that this virus exists even.
Oh,
No.
give
There
me
has
a
been no
fucking break.
evidence, no
Faith,
evidence.
you need to read. For Christ's sake,
You're
read.
reading disinformation.
Yeah,
You
me
are
too.
you have read
Fraud, we can-
disinformation,
There's
Faith.
fraud in the
Faith,
medical
you
journals.
you are
Right,
on the
all
moon
right.
right now.
The
People.
medical journals
on.
are fraudulent.
Oh yeah, all of them.
Please.
All of them are fraudulent, Faith. How
All
would you
of
know that?
them. All of them.
How would you
All
know
of
that,
them.
Faith? How do you know that?
Oh my God.
Duh.
Are
Okay.
we not all
Jesus
one?
Christ.
I thought we were all one.
We are underneath this bullshit. We
How do
are.
you know
Alright,
that this
okay.
virus exists, Brent? From what you're reading?
Well,
From
because
what
of
you're seeing
millions
on
and
the-
millions of people that are in the healthcare field say it does. That's why.
Millions and millions of people that are
Okay.
getting paid to say so.
How do you know it isn't?
Do you know all these millions of people?
Do you know all the
Have you
people? Do you know all these people that say it isn't? I mean, we're
I know
all
a lot of them.
limited. We're
I know
all.
a lot of them actually.
Well, you know a few people, but what you're contradicting here is what millions of people are involved in doing, and you're saying it's a bunch of BS. That is nonsense, Faith. You don't know that.
Yeah, I have discernment.
Oh,
I
okay.
do know.
Okay, well,
Okay.
believe whatever you want,
Psychic
Faith.
ability.
Believe
I
whatever
have
you
to-
want.
No, I don't have to believe it. It's a knowing. I just
Okay,
know.
well, I'll tell you this: if two
Just like I
people,
knew 9/11 was an inside job.
oh, sure it was, Faith. Of course it was. You know, Faith, you're an exact reason why misinformation needs to get. Well, you need to get rid of it because you think everything's got some phony thing behind it. What for? Why do you believe that 9/11 was an inside job? Are you serious?
Brent,
The same reason why I have intuitive ability and a discernment.
I just have a question. My question is, in history,
Oh,
have they
God.
ever closed down
all
the
right.
entire
Brent,
globe?
I'm trying to mute everyone so we can get this under control.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Wasn't that interesting? That little thing that just happened between all of us, wasn't that interesting? Because that happens and everybody loses it. Everybody kind of goes, wow, this is crazy.
Okay,
Because
now I can't
our emotional state starts getting in the way of everything, and we've all got trigger points.
There
This
you
is
go.
a really good lesson. This is what we just did. Is a really good lesson.
It is. Because we all have to consider where we get our information from. We really do.
Well, I'm getting it from firsthand experience. So, people right there. Hello. And people that are telling me right there, they're nursing practitioners
Yeah.
and nursing professionals that are in the hospitals. And they're seeing there's a lot more people coming in with reactions, very serious reactions to these injections. And there was no people coming in with the virus, the so-called COVID. The hospitals were empty. So
Can I?
there
I'm
you
sorry.
go.
Faith.
You can see
I'm-
the agenda, right?
Okay. All right, Faith. Kelly?
So I'm just gonna say this, and then hopefully this subject will be done.
And it's 8:30. I must say, my
so-
whole body
okay.
aches from going up and down lather today, by the way. Okay.
Yeah. So, okay. So when I was born, I was blind. I had very deformed eyes. They were very deformed. And, people say, "Oh, well, trust the medical system." Well, no, do not. Because that was not meant to happen. It happened because of a prescription that was given, and it deformed my eyes. And so, so great information. Yeah. I'm blind for life because of medical carelessness.
That is truly a
So,
shame.
And plus,
That is
on
truly a
top of
shame.
that, vaccines given because I am living proof that medical carelessness and medical money comes way before actual health care.
Yes.
Way before.
Yes, it
does.
does. Sometimes.
And these-
Sometimes, Kelly.
no.
Let Brent
Hold
talk,
on.
Kelly.
Not all the time, Kelly. Don't see, this is a fallacy in logic. If you have a particular experience and then you take that experience and then you want to paint like the whole profession with the bad brush job. I mean, you can do that, but it's not logical because one person's experience is not everyone's. The medical
No, I get that.
I
They-
have a
people's
cousin whose
lives.
both of her children were vaccine damaged. I have a first cousin whose both of her children
Yeah.
were vaccine damaged. They have severe autism.
I agree with you.
But Bren,
Agree
do you
with
believe
you.
in government sites? Like, do you look at government sites?
Rarely do I go to a government
Look at
site.
government sites and you'll see what the side effects are of vaccines.
Look, I understand there are side effects. I understand people die from injections, but if no one had gotten a COVID shot, you don't think a lot of people would be dead that are alive today? Please.
A lot of people are dead.
In fact,
Yeah, they're
in
dead from
fact,
the
Here's
COVID
something else,
shots, from
too.
the injections.
Yeah, but
in fact, if two people get COVID, one of them's been vaxxed, the other one hasn't. The odds that the person who hasn't been vaxxed dies is 100 times the other person who's been vaxxed. In other words, you're 100 times more likely to die if you don't get vaxxed and you get COVID
okay,
compared
where
to someone
did
who
you
does.
find that information?
That is not true.
Where did you find that information, Brent?
It came out of somebody's mouth that I saw on online somewhere who was a medical professional.
Yeah, but can I tell you, Brent, just so you're aware,
Fuck.
all the doctors and the scientists that oppose that view were kicked off of YouTube, kicked off of Facebook, kicked off of all the social media.
That's how we got on
They
this.
did not want that their view heard. And that's the thing about freedom of speech. Why can't you have opposing views? They only want you to see this much. You have to look here, put the blinders on you. You can't see any other information.
Mhm.
That's what they're doing.
Look, Diane, you can find
That's
examples of
on
that.
government
You
websites.
you can find information like that, okay? But you've got to understand that you've got to look at the overall picture of what's happening. And yes, there isn't a drug that's ever been made that hasn't killed people. And it's unfortunate, and I'm really sad and sorry to hear the story about this for you, Kelly. But this happens all the time. And unfortunately, it can't not happen. If you produce a chemical that goes in somebody's body and the body will respond in a way that dies, if that's a small percentage, if it's 1 in a million or whatever it is, then you overlook that and you say to people, could happen to you if you take this shot. But the rest of us are fine and we get by with it. So which
Yeah, and that's
No.
true. Some people are fine,
Hold on.
but some people are not. And the fact they have to force people is a problem.
Yeah.
Right?
And
That
here-
is a
and here's
problem.
something-
Kenny, did you want to comment?
Who's in charge of my body anyway?
That's what I say.
Ah.
So
You
don't
have
get
no
vaxxed.
freedom unless you have freedom as to what goes in your body. You have absolutely no freedom. If you
When
can
has
fly on
anybody-
a plane and go somewhere,
When has anybody told you have to get vaxxed to stay alive on this planet? I mean, who's
what they
telling
say
you?
is you can't have a job unless you're vaxxed.
Okay, there's some jobs, right, because you're around people all the time.
Some jobs, pretty well, every
No.
employer said you can't, unless
Yeah.
you're vaxxed, you can't have a job.
Okay,
Yeah.
then find a job someplace else. What are you going to do? I mean, people aren't who have businesses do not that have automobile building businesses. You're around people all the time. If somebody gets sick with something, you go home. Whether it's a cold, whether it's the flu, get the hell out of here and don't
Do you
infect
know,
anybody else. What's wrong with
you know
that?
what the recovery rate was for COVID? If you looked at charts, and I mean, this is on government sites, they know the average person doesn't look at government sites. You'll see that the recovery rate was 99.7% for someone who had COVID.
Excuse me.
99.7% recovery.
Okay, yeah, and
Okay. What
And-
I'm saying is, if it's a 99.7% recovery, why are they vaccinating the population?
well, I tell you what, send me a link and I will investigate this myself and then we can have a discussion. I don't know what you're talking about. So send me a link, please.
Okay. All right. Okay. And
And-
Kenny, you have something to share. What do you have
Yeah.
there?
I got this piece of paper. It's very cool. It certifies that I'm okay to go into certain places.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have this piece of paper, apparently I couldn't go and drink a beer at the local pub. I mean, that was 6 months ago. I don't
Not
know what
missing
it's like
much.
now. Apparently I can go now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things that we love to get emotional about. And so Brent, I really liked your observation of just look what just happened to us. The daggers came out.
Exactly.
We're nice people. Oh, well, maybe not as nice as we thought.
We're not in control of
No.
this. That's what happens, you know. It's like you get all this
Well-
energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's
You know
something.
what,
Here's something too.
This has been a fascinating night. I am
Yeah.
going to cut short because I am tired. But this is an example of freedom of speech. You should be able to express,
Of
even
course.
if, I've had people say certain things to test me, right? On freedom of speech. I go,
Yeah.
it's your freedom of speech,
Which
right? You can
example of
say
the
whatever
fire was
you
pretty
want.
good.
It's freedom of speech, right?
But
It
you-
can't
Yeah,
be, oh,
I
it's
agree.
hurting my
Well-
feelings. Forget that, right? What hurts
Yeah.
one person's feelings won't hurt the other person's feelings. So forget it, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Can I ask
okay.
you a
Good
question?
night,
This has been fun.
everyone. Thank you, Brent.
Right.
I have a really busy day tomorrow, but maybe by the weekend I send you a
Great,
list
great.
of at least the BC stuff for sure. I haven't
Okay.
followed the US, but I can follow I have Canadian, and I might have some websites to the global one, like World Health Organization stuff.
Okay. Great.
All right.
All right.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Hey,
Bye.
We're all friends.
We
Don't-
are all
Don't
friends.
not come back.
it was close.
We
We're all
could
friends
be
now.
blood sisters and brothers if we weren't on Zoom. But anyways,
Oh,
there you go.
Good luck trying to censor this
And-
one.
and you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Good night.